talking about using vibrato in your playing, the importance of vibrato. Now, vibrato, is taking a string and adding kind of a waveform to it. So instead of just playing, for instance, the 5th fret of the 3rd string here, I'm going to be in A minor pentatonic for our example in this lesson too. Okay, instead of just playing that note and having it be what I call static, just non-moving, what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of a wave to this. And the way I'm doing that is I'm grabbing on with my thumb over the top, and then what I'm doing is taking this part of my finger right here, putting it against the bottom of the guitar, and then grabbing the string I want, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull like this against the bottom of my finger. Okay, now it's not going to be that much, but that's what's happening. So I'm not doing it like this. I'm not just pulling with my fingers like this. There are many times you might be in a position like this where you're playing faster and your thumb is down and your fingers are spread out more, doing something different. I do that too. Okay, but when it comes to doing a proper vibrato, I would ultimately like to be able to grab on with my thumb over the top, grabbing on the bottom, and then what I do is I pull against the bottom of that. I'm rocking my forearm back and forth like this. And that way I can control two things: how fast it is and how wide it is. And I can decide what it is I'm interested in at that point in time. I can have different vibratos for different reasons. Or a bigger vibrato. Or faster vibrato, or whatever it is that I might be looking for. Now, if I'm down in this position at that moment, you certainly can still do the vibrato, okay? I just find that I have a little less control, but there are times that I don't have a choice. If I'm down in this position and I want a vibrato, again, it's still moving from this idea. I'm not doing this with my fingers, just pulling the string. I'm still moving the wrist a little bit to try and get that vibrato. Okay, so that's the idea of a vibrato. And then what you're going to do is you can use a vibrato on any finger, on any fret, depending on what key you're in, of course. And so a really great thing to practice is just choosing a string. Let's say you choose, again, the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and you practice vibrato with your first finger. And you can practice different speeds, different sizes. Okay? And then what you can do is you can move down to the middle finger on that same fret, the 5th fret, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my first finger, on that string as well, and I'm going to use both those fingers for strength. Now, you wouldn't have to, okay? It's just something good to get used to. And then if I wanted to go to my 3rd finger, I'd put all fingers on there. And again, you wouldn't have to. Okay? Whatever works for you, and then pinky. Now, you're going to notice by the time I get to the pinky, my thumb isn't really over the top anymore because my hand is too small. So I don't have any choice. If I was going to do a vibrato with the pinky, more than likely my thumb is going to be behind the guitar. So a pinky vibrato, again, is a sort of last resort for me. It's not one of my go-tos. I'd much rather use one of my other 3 fingers to do my vibrato. Okay? Now, the other thing that you can learn to do is you can do a vibrato on a bend. And the bend was the last thing we talked about there. So bending, I find the pitch that I want, right? And what I'm going to do the vibrato this time is I'm going to bring my wrist down just a little bit, okay? And again, there's no particular amount of distance. It depends on what you want it to sound like. But the trick is whatever it is I choose, when I go back, I want to hit that top point of that bend again so it's in tune. And then when I release it, I want to release it back to basically the same spot that I released it the first time. So I'm creating a uniform wave like this. If my wave is erratic, it's going to sound that way when I do my bending or my vibrato, and we probably don't want that, right? At least most of the time. So I want to be in control of both sides of that. When I push up to get back to the pitch I want, and when I release it to create the vibrato. Now you can make them really wide, kind of like Ace Frehley from Kiss, right? Or you can keep them kind of small. just whatever it is that you like. Now, the last thing I want to just touch on real quick is that when you're doing vibrato, oftentimes people will say, well, can't you do vibrato toward the ceiling? Again, whatever works for you is the most important thing. If you find that it's easier for you to do your vibrato toward the ceiling, that's perfectly fine. That's never worked for me, so I always do them toward the floor. Okay, it's just easier for me to do. But if it works better to push it toward the ceiling, give it a try, see what you think.